Good morning and welcome to D.C. Today. I'm Del Walters in Washington. Ask any African American and they will tell you that MAGA didn't stand for Make America Great Again, but instead Make America White Again. Perhaps the question that should be asked is how America became so white in the first place. The answer is because of who we let in and who we keep out. And it is against that backdrop that I ask you to look at these two images. The first from Afghanistan, thousands of people trying to get out of that country, fleeing the Taliban, bodies clinging to planes. America saying something had to be done. 120,000 people evacuated in weeks. 60,000 now headed to the U.S., many of them landing in the suburbs of Washington. At the same time, an earthquake strikes Haiti. The U.S. telling Haitians, don't come here. This weekend, 14,000 Haitians huddled under this bridge in Texas. Once again, the U.S. sending planes, only these planes were meant to send the Haitians back home, back to Haiti. There is a reason that immigration is the third rail in Washington and that nothing has been done since the 1980s when Ronald Reagan was president. Based on demographics, America should look Asian since that is the world's largest population. But consider this, by 2050, the world's largest population will be black. Give us your tired, huddled masses yearning to be free, perhaps only if they are not black. On Saturday, the Biden administration saying it sees as many as 5 or 6 flights a day coming in and out of Texas. Those flights will be filled with Haitian refugees flown back to Haiti. BNC correspondent Derrick Lewis joins us now live from Del Rio with the very latest. Good morning, Derrick.
Good morning, Del. The port of entry is closed here at Del Rio, Texas, about 145 miles west of San Antonio. Now, we are here at the U.S.-Mexico border, and behind me, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents, they are here at this checkpoint, making sure that things are running smoothly so far. While we've been here, we've just seen personnel going in and out, as well as Border Patrol vehicles. Now, more than 10,000 immigrants have crossed the border within the past few weeks. And they are now here at an encampment with them seeking asylum here in the United States. Now, many of these families left Haiti to escape poverty. The country has been through a lot. Haitians are still grappling with the death of their president's assassination in July, as well as a 7.2 magnitude earthquake just a month later. Some families left the country recently, while others have been living in South America for years. Now, the Department of Homeland Security is flying immigrants from Del Rio back to Haiti, leaving many of them to feel hopeless, having to start over in what they are calling now, Del, an unstable country.
So, Derrick, I'm looking at these images and I find myself asking the question, is Haiti, after that earthquake that you talked about, is it in a position to accept all of the migrants who are being sent back?
Well, Del, you're talking about a country that has already been through a lot, and now you have this situation that's happening now where thousands of migrants will be going back to the country. They don't have any money, they don't have any jobs, they don't have a home. The country has said they're going to welcome these people back. However, you can imagine that it will be tough trying for both the country and the people going back there, trying to get things started again. Del?
Derrick Lewis, live for us in Del Rio, Texas. Derrick, as always, thank you very much. And live look now at Capitol Hill. That's because some Democratic lawmakers are actually trying to get the Biden administration to change things, to halt the deportation to Haiti. But the question is, will they be successful? They say it will take months for Haiti to safely receive all of the people that are returning to that country. BNC's Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Nayyar Huq joins us now live with more. Nayyar, is there any other way to look at this other than the way that we are looking at it, almost as if it's a tale of two nations, one black, one brown?
We can also look at it, Del, as a continuation of the immigration policies of President Trump. That has been ultimately the challenge, is that the Department of Homeland Security had adapted many of the draconian policies and is effectively continuing those. Now, the Biden administration has said that everything from its refugee to asylum programs were gutted by the Trump administration. So even getting the right staff in place to process people has been the problem. However, you and I both know in Washington, if there is a political will, there is a way to make things happen. And that is what Democratic lawmakers are trying to do right now. I will point out that this letter that was sent by 50 Democratic lawmakers to the Department of Homeland Security was actually a black and brown coalition led by Ayanna Pressley, who is a black female member of Congress, and Nydia Velasquez, who is a Hispanic member of Congress, both from the Northeast, and both saying that it is inhumane to deport the Haitian people, the migrants who are here, to deport them back to Haiti. There are multiple different avenues that the administration could pursue. Instead of deportation, they could have temporary housing provided on military bases. That's something that we have seen happen for a variety of different communities. They could also partner with third countries to give, again, a safe haven for these people as they are looking to be evaluated for security to see or placement in the United States. But the idea that there's no coordination at all, that really the only answer the United States could come up with was to send people back into harm's way, that is the part that these lawmakers are having a problem with, and frankly, most people morally and ethically should have a problem with.
The states that is bringing in the Afghan refugees is the same state that is telling the Haitian refugees to go home.
Indeed, and the only reason I think that they are accepting the Afghan refugees is because they have a significant veteran and military community that is up in arms, effectively saying that the people who served with them to complete this war were promised immigration and should be given that. This is by no means done by, say, the Texas governor's generosity of spirit. And that's ultimately the only way immigrants are coming into the United States, is because they have, somebody has taken up a cause for a particular population. We know that immigration is not only the third rail in U.S. politics, it is also a fundamentally broken system that is yet to be fixed. And unfortunately, if you are poor, if you are black, you do not get the same advocacy as other communities do.
Give us your tired, huddled masses yearning to be free as long as they are not black. Nayar Huck, our Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent. Nayar, thank you very much for adding perspective to this. Haitian immigrants crossing the Rio Grande say they will not stop trying to get here. Their desperation, though, really is just like that of the Afghans who escaped the Taliban weeks ago. Only in this case, look, those are Texas Rangers and immigration authorities from the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol Agency trying to round them up here in the United States. The best minds in politics are here to talk about the double standard that you are seeing unfold before your very eyes. Dr. Nyambi Carter is a political science professor at Howard University, and George Washington University professor and journalist Jesse Holland is with us as well. Border Patrol officials, as we just pointed out, intercepting hundreds of Haitian immigrants every day. Listen to this statement from officials saying that they are getting them out as quickly as possible.
We're working around the clock to expeditiously move migrants out of the heat elements and from underneath this bridge to our processing facilities in order to quickly process and remove individuals from the United States consistent with our laws and our policies.
Dr. Carter, is this as black and white as it seems on the surface?
Quite frankly, yes. This has been an ongoing issue with Haitians for multiple centuries. I mean, we can talk about Donald Trump, but this actually predates Donald Trump. This has been through the Carter administrations, the Reagan administrations, Clinton, Bush, and Obama, unfortunately. I mean, Haitians have been treated, quite frankly, as disposable people when they are trying to make asylum claims. And we've seen this, especially in the 1970s and 80s, with the coincidence with the Cuban refugee population coming to the United States, with the very different ways that Haitians were treated. And it was not just a race issue, it was also a geopolitical issue, right? Haiti has often positioned itself as an ally of the United States. And in the midst of the Cold War, where the US was trying to thwart the spread of communism, Haiti was an ally. And so it was not in US interest, and it's still not in US interest, to do anything to help Haitians. I think one of the things that has been most consistent is that the U.S. has never taken claims by Haitians for asylum seriously and always processed them for deportation. It has been very limited times when the United States has actually allowed Haitian refugees to parole, that's what they call it, into the larger community and then have their hearing sometime later. The United States was doing both asylum and deportation or removal hearings at the same time in most cases. And they started that practice really with Haitians. So the United States has come up with all kinds of machinations over time to prevent Haitians from being asylees in this country.
Jesse, I want our director to replay that image of the Customs and Border Patrol people on horseback, trying to stop the Haitians from crossing the Rio Grande. Should the United States actually be sending the Haitians back to a country in the first place that just had a massive earthquake? Also, its president was just assassinated. Just as the Haitians are being sent back home, the Senate parliamentarian is saying no to Democratic plans to include immigration in the $3.5 trillion budget deal. So it almost appears as if everyone is speaking out of both sides of their mouth on this, and these images are horrific.
Right. Well, I was just going to say that this has to be some of the worst images I've seen, and I don't know how long. It brings back all kinds of memories of slave catchers on horses, especially in the South, trying to run down African Americans seeking some type of freedom. We don't see, as the United States, Haiti as a country we need, a country that has anything that we want. So unlike Cuba, unlike Afghanistan, we are not inviting them in because for some reason the United States doesn't see the people of Haiti as people who can contribute or give this country anything. What we need to look at is making our policies equitable across the board. If we're going to allow in Asian immigrants, if we're going to allow in European immigrants, we should have the same policy for Caribbean, we should have the same policy for South Americans, we should have the same policy for Central American immigrants. It is clearly discriminatory looking. I can't say for a fact that the American policy is discriminatory, even though I believe it is, but it certainly looks that way. And it doesn't make sense for us to be looking at these images of white men on horseback running down black people in the United States in 2020. This is the absolute worst image of the United States I've seen since January 6th.
Dr. Carter, and I do want our director to play it again, just in case, because we saw that image over and over again of the Afghans trying to cling to that plane. And we were told, look at how bad this looks for the United States. I have not seen a single network other than this one play this image over and over again, saying, look at how bad this looks for this country. You know, we criticized the Trump administration when he said he didn't want those S-hole countries into this country. Is this what it looks like in practice versus rhetoric?
Well, you know, Del, unfortunately, this is the dirty business of this broken immigration system we have. And more importantly, of this broken system we have for discerning who is an asylee and who is not. And in this country, the United States has decided a long time ago that Haitians are not true refugees who are fearing political violence, right? Who are fearing the working conditions of the country, which are terrible at this point. Quite frankly, I mean, the economic structure was already deteriorating. And it wasn't just this earthquake. They've had 3 earthquakes. They've had tropical storms, cholera outbreaks, COVID. Right. And now you want to send people back in the midst of all of this upheaval, the assassination most recently. It makes no sense because the United States has other things at their disposal. They could make or designate Haiti temporary protected status or grant Haiti temporary protected status so Haitians could stay in the country and work legally. They've done it for a number of countries, including Sudan and South Sudan, Venezuela, El Salvador. There's nothing that will prohibit the United States from doing that again for Haiti, except that they don't want to. And again, I hate to keep going back in time, but the long-standing grudge that the West, not just the United States, but the West, has had against Haiti and Haitian people is long-standing, and we have to really address that because we will continue to allow this kind of human misery on American soil and abroad. I think the reason that most major news networks are not covering it is because they don't find Haitian people valuable. They don't see Haitian people as members of our country, of our community, who've contributed anything to our culture and to our lives. And because, quite frankly, Haiti is of no political value to the United States, as Jesse said a moment ago. And so I don't think we will see these horrific images anywhere but on this channel and other Black-focused networks, because it doesn't matter to mainstream media in many cases. And I'm using mainstream as shorthand.
Just in case you work in the Biden administration, consider this image. Barack Obama allows 60,000 Haitian refugees into this country and expels 14,000 Irish or Italian or white Anglo-Saxon refugees. And see how it looks.